in this video, I'm going to tell you how to properly socialize your dog, especially when your dog is younger. That's the most critical time. Now, this is not the same thing as socializing a dog in a pack the way I do out in my yard that I've done a variety of videos on over the years. This is a very different type of socialization. So what I'm referring to now is exposing your dog, and you've heard me say this before, to sights, sounds, and surroundings. Okay, those are extremely important when your dog is younger, because you don't want your dog to grow up where everything spooks them, everything they're afraid of, they start barking, they don't do well in new environments and new situations. So one of the things, one of my followers had suggested that I make a distinction between what is proper socialization and what is not so good. A lot of people feel that if they just take their dog to the dog park, throw it out there in a bunch of dogs that they don't know, that's socialization. Well, it is, but it's not the right kind. So you don't know who's going to be in the dog park ever. You don't know the kind of people that will be in the dog park, if they are savvy dog owners, if they know how to control their dogs, or if their dogs are just going there for the first time. At any given moment, you can have somebody walk in with a dog that has exhibited aggressive behavior, and I've had this happen before, actually, not with me because I don't go to dog parks, but with a client, where a dog picked a fight with their dog, and what the owner of the dog that started the fight said was, well, my dog isn't very good with other dogs, so I thought I would bring him to the dog park to socialize him. Ew, not so good. Okay, so what I'm referring to is making sure that your dog gets exposed to a lot of different things when they're young. So you want them to be solid, street smart, savvy dogs. Like my Natasha is a perfect example of that. Because she was raised on the streets. I rescued her at 9 months old from South Central. So she knew how to navigate traffic, she knew how to avoid, how to get around other dogs and make sure that she got along well with them or to avoid certain ones. She was not very social with people because she had learned the right way that people could be dangerous to her. So that's why it took so long. It took me 3 months to actually catch her and rescue her. But the thing about Natasha that's amazing now is that anything can happen around her and nothing sets her off, nothing upsets her. So in my practice as a dog behaviorist, there are so many times that people come in with dogs and the dogs are just reactive to everything. The cell phone rings, the refrigerator makes a noise, the lawnmower freaks them out, the vacuum cleaner freaks them out. And that's what you don't want. You want a dog to be exposed to a lot of things when they're young, but the right things, okay? So what I would suggest that you do is start, first of all, getting your dog out of the house. Don't just raise your dog in the backyard, because you see it over and over and over again where people end up with dogs that cannot function, literally cannot function outside their own backyard. And they might have other dogs, and so they say, well, my dog is friendly with all of our other dogs, and therefore he's social with other dogs. But then they get him out and he doesn't know how to handle anything else. So just because the dogs are friendly with your own dogs doesn't mean that they have good social skills with dogs that they've never met. So I would recommend that you take your dog on walks. You get your own energy together first. You make sure that you're carrying the leash in a loose way, that you're relaxed. You can envision the walk beforehand so that you kind of set yourself up to anticipate the right thing from your dog, and then take your dog on walks. Now, this doesn't only help the dog when he sees another dog coming forward, but it also helps the dog feel confident around traffic, because that's another thing that a lot of dogs can't handle as they get older because they were never exposed to the sound of cars. So they can either develop this sort of aggressive or reactive type of mentality about them. They bark when the UPS driver comes up, they bark when the garbage man pulls up, they bark when guests come up to the house, because the sound of a car is something that they only see in fleeting moments. They're not really exposed to walking along the sidewalk where they can actually feel the car go by and understand what that means. And the nice thing about that is if you do it right, then the owner really shows the dog that they can trust the owner, because the dog is safe in that environment, right? So I would take the dog. Another thing that people don't often think about as something that's important to integrate into a dog's life early on is crating a dog. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of all the benefits of crating, except to say that you want your dog to be able to stay at the vet's, because if they ever have a procedure, or they even have to go in to have their teeth cleaned, and maybe you have to take them in at 8:30 in the morning, but the procedure isn't until 1 or 2 in the afternoon, you don't want the dog to be freaked out about the idea of being contained for the first time, because there's already enough stress involved in going there and having to have their teeth cleaned and being handled by people that they don't know, right? So that would be another way for you to get the dog well-rounded and teach him how to handle different environments, like being in. So if you get them used to being in a crate at home with different things going on, even if you don't want to crate your dog on a regular basis, then at least you teach your dog how to be contained, number one, and number two, how to be away from you and be okay with that, okay? Then if you want to socialize your dogs with other dogs, what I would do, and there are people in my own neighborhood that have done this. There's some really cool things that are going on now with people where they have these neighborhood groups that are in these email chains, and we have one here where I live as well. And people get together and say, hey, does anybody want to do this, or does anybody want to buy that, or who should I get to trim my trees, or whatever. So you can actually get together a group of people that want to walk their dogs together. People that actually abide by the same rules and the same discipline that you do, and understand that the importance of walking your dog properly, not letting him drag you down the street. So you can put together your own little pack. And this is awesome because you can control the environment that way. So that would be the next thing that I would do to socialize your dog. Then I would take the dog to places, restaurants where they're allowed, so that they can get used to people coming and going around them. And I would be the one, of course, your job is to protect and direct your dog. So I would make sure that strangers didn't come up and want to pet the dog and lean over them. There's been so many occasions where people have come in and said their dog has never bitten anybody, but they took the dog to Starbucks. Somebody came in, leaned over the dog, didn't ask if they could pet first, and can you imagine, the dog is tucked away on one side of the table with a wall behind him, okay, like the perfect opportunity for a bite, and then somebody they don't know leans over them, probably baby talking. You get the picture, and you set the dog up for failure that way. You don't want to do that. But those are the types of things that you can do as long as you're in control of that activity, and you don't feel bad about telling someone, please don't pet my dog. I'm much more concerned about the safety of my dog than I am possibly offending somebody that doesn't understand that what I'm trying to do is not keep my dog from being social with other people, but there's no reason why the dog has to tolerate somebody coming that they don't know, leaning over and touching them, because you wouldn't expect somebody to do that to you. Why would you allow that with your dog? So those are just a few ideas. You can spot a dog that's not been socialized from a mile away. They come in often for board and trains or for consultations with me, again, where everything sets them off. The people think that they're aggressive when actually they're just super reactive. They're super fearful of different noises and different surroundings and different things that they're just not, they just have never been around before. So just make sure that you expose your dog to things that they want, that as they grow up, they will begin to probably have to be around anyway. So make sure that when they're younger, they get used to them. Also, the vacuum cleaners, lawnmowers. I had a dog, a Rottweiler, Roxanne. Many of you that have followed me for a long time remember Roxanne is a Rottie, and she lived to be 17 years old. But she hated the vacuum cleaner, hated it. She was so cool in every way, but boy, that vacuum cleaner was a nightmare. She would bite it, go after it and everything. So I'm assuming that before I got her, because she was an adult when I got her, she must have had some sort of freaked out experience with vacuum, or probably more likely she was just never exposed to one, and so when she heard one, once she came here and got in my environment, it freaked her out. So those are just a few things to ponder, and just make sure you get your dog out and do lots of different things with them, grow them up right, okay? And I'm going to be posting all of my videos I post on YouTube after I do them, so if you're watching this from YouTube now, make sure that you like the video, make sure you subscribe to my videos. I would love that. That's like oxygen for me. I thrive on being able to help you guys and answer things specifically that you want to hear, that are relevant to you, okay? All right, guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.